It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight reviews of Toni Stone, Curse of the Starving Class, Frankie and Johnny in the Clair de Lune, Happy Talk, and Octet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. And hello again, Leslie.
Hello, Charlie.
Yes. Well, we've got lots to do tonight.
We got special things to do tonight. I'm going to start with the play. I'm going to show you first things first. Here, you can hold that up.
First things
First, it is June and it is Gay Pride Month. So most of the most recent plays will have their Gay Pride flag flying. Okay. This
and the bricks to commemorate Stonewall.
That's true. It is against bricks. She's absolutely right. This is Toni Stone, a real life person in the hit of the season. We are starting with a hit for me. This is the best play I've seen in a while. Okay, it doesn't have to be
given what we're talking about tonight, I don't know if that's saying much, but okay.
I didn't say for tonight, I said for the season so far.
All right.
Lydia Diamond, whose work I do not know in the past, wrote this wonderful play about a living legend that none of us know about.
She's not
alive.
living.
She's a real life legend who's not with us anymore. Directed by Pam McKinnon, and starring a plethora of wonderful black actors, many of whom I don't know, and some of whom we've interviewed on the show. So I'm just going to list all the actors because it's a perfect casting. Eric Berryman, Harvey Blanks, Philip James Brannon, Daniel Bryant, Jonathan Burke, Tony Goines, Ken Head, and Ezra Knight, and the star in the making, April Mathis. If we do not hear from this young lady pretty soon, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's the story of the first black or any female to play in a men's league. She played in the black league. It was called the Clowns. Her
team was called the Clowns.
Yes, the team was called the Clowns, and
they were known for clowning. I would have thought they were kind of like the Harlem, Harlem Globetrotters.
I've seen that reference made. I know you made it, and I said no, but I've seen it made. But the thing is that she wasn't a clown. She was the most wonderful baseball. She got a hit off Satchel Paige. I mean, that's an amazing thing. The position that she played was the one that Hank Aaron had played with that team a year before.
I want to tell you something about reaching and me, because you may have heard I am the first woman to ever play professional ball. Turns out, between the weight of a thing and the reach, there's breath. And in that breath is life.
It's the difficulty in being a woman. It's the difficulty in being black. It's the difficulty in not being well educated that the show comes across. And she's like an idiot savant. She's not an idiot by any means, but she's like a savant in that she knows baseball and statistics, and she can extrapolate real life from all of that. But she doesn't have any real life experience. She winds up with a fella who loves her, and that fella is played by our friend Harvey Blanks. It's the best role I've seen him in a very long time, even better than Jitney, I think. And it's a wonderful show. I don't know where to stop saying wonderful things about it.
I'll tell you to stop.
Okay.
I was watching the show, and at the beginning of the show, she comes out and she tells out all about her teammates.
Right.
And I'm thinking this is going to be wonderful because they all are so defined. You're talking 8 teammates, plus the owner. Mm-hmm. So I can say, the playwright's really given us some great characters. But to me, for a lot of the play, she really doesn't seem to make use of that. I mean, there's one called King Tut. He's supposed to be the king clown. And as we mentioned earlier, these were supposed to be baseballs, Harlem Globetrotters, sort of. And, we see them doing a little shtick. I would have liked them to expand on that.
See, for me,
I felt that the author didn't make as much use of a lot of the characters as I had hoped that she
didn't make
would.
use of the shtick. she made use of the characters. We got to know these men, and we got to know their foibles.
Some of them, not all. Not all
I
of
thought
them.
that pretty much every one of them had some specific characteristic that we learned about that had nothing to do with the clowning part. Because the clowning was what they hated to do the most. The clowning was the minstrel show, and they didn't want to do that. The public came to see that, and they were paid to do that, but they didn't want to do it. And so and there's a whole place where they all shuffle around, and you know that they're not. That it's like, and then the minute they're done, it comes off. No, I'm glad that they didn't do any more than that. It was embarrassing to watch the little bit that there was, honestly, for me. But the point of the story is that this is a woman we've never heard of. I mean,
Yes.
I certainly never heard of her. A sports hero who should be right up there with other white and black sports
With Gina
heroes.
Davis in from a league of their own.
Well, in a league of her own, there weren't any black players, were there?
No, now that you
See,
mention
that's the whole point. So anyway, I give this so many props I can't begin to tell you where. The actors were uniformly wonderful. It was well cast. It was well directed. Lovely, lovely play. And again, April Mathis, a name to look for.
Yes, I agree with you about the acting, and it was nicely directed. My feeling was after the play started, I just didn't feel it was going anywhere. It just seemed mushed, and it did not hold my interest.
Well,
despite the fact that I was interested in the topic, despite what I thought was an amazingly strong start. And so, I can give it 2 3/4.
I'm going to give it 4.75. I really think it's an exceptional piece of work, beautifully done.
Okay. This, by the way, is at the Roundabout. I don't think we mentioned that.
Okay. And it's running through August.
Okay. So, a few weeks ago, we talked about Sam Shepard's True West. And now we're back with Curse of the Starving Class. And I bring this up because the way the True West house looks at the end of the play is actually better than the way this house looks at the beginning of the play.
At any point during the play, yes, absolutely.
Yes. This is directed by Terry Kinney at the Signature Theater. And it's this family, and they're not doing too well. The son picks up the slack because the father's drunk and AWOL most of the time. The mother's trying to sell the house. Apparently the father's trying to sell the house. Whether either of them know what they're doing remains to be seen. The children end up carrying the ball for their parents, except when they don't. I think the daughter runs away, the son wants to run away, the father runs away. But the interesting thing is, in the second part of the play, the father kind of gets his act together. It looks like he has some plans, and it looks like they may actually be good ideas, but this is a Sam Shepard play, so none of that's going to come to fruition.
Sham Shepard
Sam
play.
Shepard, no.
No, I like that.
It's not a sham. Sam is what he is.
Was what he was.
The problem is I've never liked what he is. So, while I will say now this play, unlike Toni Stone, did hold my attention, but I'm not someone who pretends to understand.
It had a live
separate
lamb.
shit.
How could it not hold your attention? This is the year of the animals.
Well,
with everything in fairy minute.
That's true. Yeah.
Not only did it have a live
but
lamb,
it didn't have a baby.
not only did it have a live lamb, she actually did her business on the stage, but she was in a pen. However, the rest of the place looked like a pig pen.
I think somebody else did his business on the stage too.
When you say it was,
I'm hoping he was miming it.
well, yes, that's true. It's right above where the poor lamb had to be too. But when that refrigerator is open, the filth, the grime, I was cringing in my seat for fear that any of that germ would sort of come my way over the stage. So they got the starving class right. But the whole point of it is that these are not supposed to be people who are starving. They own a house that they have the right to sell. If that's so, they're not. The reason I think it's brought back now is that it may have relevance to this whole thing about the working class, not starving class, that cannot make a living wage and therefore is starving. We have to decide between food and medication and stuff like that. But the play itself was just too long and too much and just hammered over the head. And I don't remember it from before. I don't think I ever saw this one before.
I saw it once before.
Did it work better the first time you saw it?
No.
Okay, well, it's relentless. And I bet it didn't have a live lamb in it the last time.
It actually did.
Oh, well,
It did have a live lamb, so
Well-
you can't even credit this production with innovation. Good production, but not a play that I particularly like.
No, nor
so
I.
I have to go with 2.5 playbills
I
on
wouldn't
that.
give it that much. Oh, we didn't talk about the actors, which we
This is
should
true,
really
we
quickly
should,
mention.
we should.
Although I don't know why. Nobody particularly stood out except maybe the daughter, but I don't know which one was the daughter. Was that Maggie Sipp? Is she the little girl? The father was played by David Warshawski.
Yes.
Emma was a little girl. Lizzie Declamont. She was pretty good.
Right.
The mother
Could
was
you please
Maggie
list
Sipp.
these in order of appearance instead of alphabetical order?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Makes it
to
a
do
lot
that.
easier to
I don't
give
know. I could
credit
be
where
wrong.
credit is
Well,
due.
One of those played the daughter, one of them played the mother, and oh, here are pictures of them. Okay, that works pretty well. Here, Lizzie is the girl,
Right.
and Maggie is the mother. That was
Okay,
very helpful.
there we
Thank
go.
you very much for the postcard that I put in there and forgot to show.
There we go.
Okay, so anyway, and
We don't have a name for the lamb.
Baby lamb. Okay.
Okay.
So we do have a name for Frankie and Johnny. Now, I started out with this baseball metaphor of we have a hit. I think we have a miss here. Vocal minority. The majority of critics actually liked the show.
Right.
Although
apparently Laura Linney found something wrong with it.
Well, I haven't. You'll tell me in a minute when you get to your part, but I'm
Okay.
going to introduce it.
Okay.
This was one of Terrence McNally's really early romantic hits. So anyway, it's called Frankie and Johnny and the Claire de Lune. It's a two-character play, and the two characters are unbelievable. They are Audra McDonald and Michael.
Right.
Help me out. Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon, both of whom I adore. And only once have I ever given Audra McDonald a bad review, and that was when she did Shuffle Along because she was very pregnant and didn't look right.
I liked her in that.
And didn't look right in the costumes. Well, I don't know where that pregnancy weight went because she looks, her figure is gorgeous, and you get to see all of it in the opening scene of this play.
Yeah, but it's pretty dark, so don't.
And she gets up again, and trust me, she looks fantastic. Michael Shannon walks around with his shirt open the whole time, and he doesn't look half bad. It's not a dad bod. It's a pre-dad bod. And I say that because they're both far too attractive for these roles.
Well,
These
the
were
original-
originally
yeah.
Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates, and both Kenneth Welch and F. Murray Abraham took. One started and one took over. Not as attractive people.
No.
Not that there's anything wrong with the way they look, but they were not attractive people.
No.
Then the movie was made, and a big mistake in casting Al Pacino, Michelle Pfeiffer. Too attractive. Who nobody would believe that they were two lonely people in New York trying to connect and not finding anybody. And then a couple of years ago, another great cast.
Okay, so we have to
Edie
move
Falco,
along.
Edie Falco and Stanley Tucci. Far more acceptable as a cast to me. These guys are miscast. They're too gorgeous. They could find anybody. They could walk down the street and say, "Hi, you," and that somebody would follow them. So for me, the whole play didn't work because I didn't believe in them as the characters. They did a lovely job of acting. They tried very hard. It's directed by Aaron Arbus, who is the TIFNA. She's the associate director of TIFNA. I was so disappointed. I'm really sorry. It's not that long a play. I didn't care for it.
Okay. I have to say I did care for it. Maybe you have better night vision than I do, but certainly, and yes, you do see
We had
them.
different seats too.
Well, that's true.
So
That could be. I mean, Michael Shannon, you could see Audra McDonald. Really, the lighting from where my vantage was
silhouette,
low.
man.
And
Silhouette.
Yes, silhouette. Yes. So you definitely got it, but believe me, that's not the reason to come to the play. I did enjoy their struggling to find a relationship with each other.
Well, it certainly
And
saw the struggle in this.
I like the interplay with them. I thought they both did a good job. I had seen it once before, I think.
The Edie Falco?
No, Rosie.
Rosie Perez.
Rosie Perez. I forget who
I don't know
played
who she
the
is, but no, I know.
men. So I've never seen it with a not beautiful person, and I think you do have a point there. But beautiful people in a bad situation can be lonely. There are a lot of beautiful people who don't find.
It's not just the lonely. The way that the guy is written, he's creepy. He's really
Oh,
creepy.
I think that.
And being
I think that
creepy
showed up.
in the age of Me Too.
You really would like a sandwich?
But no ketchup.
Well, ketchup is what makes a cold meatloaf sandwich good.
I'm allergic. Ketchup and peaches.
Oh.
Well, not in the same dish.
Can I have my hand back?
Do you want it back?
Well, you want that sandwich,
I
don't
want you to notice how we're connecting. My hand is flowing into yours. My eyes are trying to see inside yours.
Yeah, no, that is not connecting. That's holding and staring. Connecting is when the other person isn't even around and you could die just from thinking of them.
That's missing. This is connecting.
Yeah, well, it ain't how a sandwich gets made, so.
She says, no, go home, go away, and he won't leave. So
Right.
there's a menace there that I don't think was really meant to be there. He's supposed to be adorably pushy as opposed to menacingly pushy. And we're in a different day and age now. So a guy who is told to leave and doesn't want to leave could be a problem.
Right,
And that
but
gives,
but
whoops.
but it is not in this case.
Sure, if you leave it there long enough. But that's a little bit like those old movies where the guy insists that you love him, and finally you say, okay, all right, yes, I love you. And again, if we look at it through today's eyes, those things were not.
All right, but we're
Read
not.
that
But
as
it
a
wasn't written today, and we have to allow for when it.
Okay. So what would you
had,
give it?
had he burst into "Baby, It's Cold Outside"? Would you have
No,
objected?
somebody
Oh,
else
okay,
said
well
that.
there we
Also,
go.
I thought the set was terrible. I didn't like the set, and I didn't understand it.
It was
and at the end
supposed to
it
be
did
a
something.
small, crummy apartment.
Yes, and it was a gigantic. But it was spread out, so it should have been somehow brought in instead of being let go
Oh,
out.
I
that
don't
way.
think so. I think it. It
And then what it did at
accurately,
the end, which was supposed to be a
small
thing, was
one-bedroom,
not. It didn't. Whatever the reason for that thing
you
at
know.
the end, which
I mean, I was thinking in the first scene where they're
It's a
consummating
studio,
their
it's-
relationship
Yeah.
and she's moaning and I was really, and this would not have been appropriate, I admit, but I was kind of hoping she'd break out into "Oh, Sweet Mystery of Life" the way Madeline Kahn did in Young Frankenstein.
Well,
but,
maybe that I would have. I might have. If we could have, I mean, it did
but
definitely have its
could
funny
I get
minutes.
a word in here?
No.
Oh, too bad. And apparently Laura Linney agrees with you on the play.
Oh, really?
Well, she and Audra got into a big fight at the Tonys. It was staged. It was
I
staged.
must have missed that.
Oh, that was a...
It was about the content of the play?
No, it was about Laura Linney giving her the bird during the play.
Oh, okay.
It was
all
a
right.
shtick that
Okay.
James,
Okay,
that was
I
part of
know
the.
nothing
But
about it, okay.
now they're going to have this feud, and I'm sure they're going to have fun with it for the next
Hopefully.
decade or two. As for the play, I did enjoy it, so
And?
I would say 3.5 is accurate on this.
I give it 3, but only for the acting. Only for the acting.
You don't like the play?
I used to like it, I think, and I don't like it now, and maybe it's because the times have changed, and maybe it's because of the way it was staged.
I think I actually enjoyed it more this time.
Well, okay.
All right. So this is Happy Talk, which you may recall is a number in the musical South Pacific. And the play is so named because the leading character, played by Susan Sarandon, is in a amateur, or as Leslie would say, community production of South Pacific. But that's really not what the play is about. It's about her relationship with a illegal alien caregiver, played very nicely by Marin Ireland, who actually looks like a younger Susan Sarandon, so I don't know where that comes from, who is basically caring for Sarandon's invalid mother, who we do not see. Her husband who we do see is also sick, but that's a minor
Daniel
portion.
Oreskes, yes. Nice performance.
And yes, and basically the wittiest part of the play, sadly, is a reference to Sarandon's Thelma and Louise movie, which actually turns out to be a reference to the musical Chicago. We see Sarandon and her and the caregiver and the relationship that we have, or the relationship that we are meant to believe that they have. The whole thing is thrown a curve when Sarandon's adult daughter shows up, basically just stays long enough to really tear her down and then leaves, and we're left thinking, huh? And then we find out about why the daughter feels this way about her mother, where there is an act of betrayal by Sarandon's character at the end. And this is not the playwright throwing us another curve. This is the playwright throwing us into a jarring 180 spin. And
you've left out Nico Santos completely. Susan Sarandon tries to broker a green card marriage
Right.
between the so terribly gay Nico Santos, who's a wonderful Filipino actor, and Marin Ireland, who's perfectly happy to do whatever, and he's perfectly happy to get the money that's
right,
involved.
that she's involved.
And it's ridiculous. Nobody would believe it for 2 seconds. So, you know.
Well, but the bottom line is, we're meant to believe it, and we are meant to believe that Saradin's character is one type of person.
Yes, and then
at
the
the
daughter-
end, with little warning, we find out she's another, and that's the problem with the play. It's not believable.
No, but see, that doesn't bother me because there are so many people who live this kind of way. She puts out what she is. She makes everybody, as she speaks, she says, I'm doing this because I'm wonderful. I'm doing this because I'm wonderful. She doesn't say it, but is underlining everything she does.
Right.
And if the daughter hadn't come back, we would have believed it. So the idea is to show that this is all a farce, that this is all a facade.
Right.
And that I didn't think it was a 180-degree curve at all. I didn't care for the play that much.
Well, no, neither did I, because I didn't like the structure, the build. There's no the build. It's yes, all right, maybe that she's not what she seems is believable, but not the way it wasn't presented.
Okay.
And that's why it was so jarring at the end. You just, whoa, where did that come from?
And usually Jesse Eisenberg is in his own plays, and he plays a kind of a doddering version, a younger version of Woody Allen, somebody he's actually played in the movies.
Okay.
And this time that character may or may not have been the Susan Sarandon character. There's no one else who could have been. So, he didn't write it for it. There's no role for him in there.
And I saw... I've seen Susan Sarandon on stage before. She's an excellent
Yes,
stage
she
actor.
is.
And she does what she can with the material, as does Scott Elliott. But there's really not much there. And I would probably only give this like 2.
Yeah, 2.5 for the acting. I walked out going, happy talk, not happy. that was as close as I could come to something amusing to say about it, which there wasn't. But we have something to say now.
Okay, we do, yes.
Pick up your harmonica.
This is...
No, put that down. We'll do that.
Sorry.
Okay.
Whoops.
Dave Malloy's idea for an a cappella musical is long and all about stuff that is not a bit unusual. We are each addicted to some form of media called social.
But why the hell is Octet so pretentious and so very dull? Well, that's a very good question.
I hope it was a pretty good rendition. I don't know about that.
Now, I will tell you, I fell in love with a cappella musicals when I saw In Transit.
I did too. I thought it was wonderful. It was not by Dave Malloy.
And this is an a cappella musical, and they all sing very nicely, but they don't have the vocal cleverness of In Transit, nor do they have...
The music, not they. They being the performers can only do what they've been given. They don't have the music to work with.
Mm-hmm. And they don't have an interesting story. They're in this 9-step group or this AA type group for people addicted to social media. And the problem is everything is very repetitive. They've all been there, except for one person, many times. So why are they giving their stories from the beginning? Obviously for our benefit, but it doesn't make sense for a repetitive group. There is one very interesting sequence when one of the members talks about this girl that he met who thinks she may be God. All right, that was original, but everything else really, okay, I'm addicted to social media. Oh, that's nice.
He actually has the gall to tell you on the back what these things are. So tarot, film, podcast, games, and music. Those are the influences that he came to from this. And the textual influences, I'm sorry, Doug Adams, Sherwood Anderson, John Cage, Philip K. Dick, George Shannon, George Sanders, Wallace Shawn, and Walt Whitman. I know all those guys. I've read all of them, and I didn't see a bit of that. No, I read them in books, and I didn't see a bit of any of that kind of cleverness or wit. And we expect this from Dave Malloy. His play Nocturne was about a Rhapsody or Nocturne, whichever it was about Rachmaninoff was magnificent. The Great Comet was unbelievable. So people are calling this a work of genius, but I'm sorry, he is a genius, and this is not one of his great works.
No. And you can be a genius and not write
Absolutely.
a good work
Absolutely.
at all.
It's an interesting idea. It must have sounded great in the the pitch.
Yes. Well, it does sound good. I mean, the cast.
Oh yes, they do sound good.
Great. You know, they all have their moments, and they all sound beautiful. And when they sing together, it's wonderful. I mean, they're really.
And they all
good.
do the pitch pipe thing. That was our little
Acapella,
bit
yes.
there with
This
the
is
pitch
this
pipe.
is technically a harmonica, but
We didn't have a
we
pitch
don't have a
pipe.
pitch pipe though. And so.
We don't have voices either, but that's okay.
That's okay. They have voices.
They do.
They don't have anything else. That's
Yeah.
the problem,
And
basically.
I'm gonna actually
in the
not
play.
read the names of the performers this time because,
Okay.
frankly, I think we're doing them a service by not saying who they are.
No, I think because they all did a very nice job. You know, it's an ensemble, and they perform very nicely with each other. But, let's see, the director, who was the director? Annie Tippie?
Ann Tippie, I believe it's Ann
Annie
Tippie.
Tippie directed it, and she did what she could with what she had. And it's, but there's not much there. Maybe the playwright is telling you to read one of the books that he references here and get off the social media. Now, does it count if you read the book on your iPad or something like that? I don't know. But there's
So
the show,
have we graded this yet?
we have not. I will give it I think 2 playbills. Again, this has not been a very good couple of weeks for us.
Well, that's why I was so happy with Toni Stone. I would say 1.75, and even
Oh,
here,
wow.
even for the good voices, it wasn't enough. A whole
No.
song, and the songs were long. It was an hour and 45 minutes, and even 90
no
minutes.
intermission.
And 90 minutes would have been long because it wasn't interesting.
Correct.
Their addictions were boring. They were banal, if anything. So
And they were pretty much the same. It was pretty much the same idea. There was no
different,
real.
slightly different songs. The Candy Crush song was kind of
Right, yes.
upbeat, but
All
they
right.
were mostly. There was one of his influences. He said was Philip Glass. That was the feeling I got. Was that was all the same. That's
Yes.
my Philip Glass imitation.
There we go. All
Sorry,
right.
Phil.
And that is our show for this evening. And when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
On the aisle.
Yes,
He had to do that.
I did.